Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. I'm Peter, and you guys, I got a really special episode today. It's kind of interview adjacent, bonus episode, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a season six prediction episode adjacent as well. I don't know, but joining me on this very special episode is Cody from Strike First Media. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thanks for having me. What's going on, Cobra Kai fans? Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It will be. So just right off the bat, let's just say why we're doing this. Both you and I got the screeners for part one of season six, and it's hard to do a theory or whatever the case is because we've already seen it. And so you and I, we kind of kicked around some ideas and thought, well, how can we still do some sort of prediction? And Watch Party and I were doing like these top five episodes, and I thought it'd be kind of fun if we did, well, what if we predict quotes, like maybe the top five quotes that we think will be the most memorable from part one. And when we release this, we'll just kind of put a poll up, and the quotes, and just kind of see who people pick, like, oh yeah, that's the best five right there, or whatever.
Mm.
So it'll kind of be fun for us. And you know th there's no way anybody would think like, oh, they recorded this after the drop, because why would I make things up and be wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no one
Um,
wants to be intentionally wrong.
yeah. So we want to try to compile the best five quotes from part one. And um, before we get into that, the other reason I wanted to invite you onto the channel is because not only did you get to be an extra on part one of season six, you got to be an extra three times for this last and final season. So I'm assuming you can't talk about like the second and third visit.
Yep, those are, yeah, can't talk much about those, but the first one is pretty much fair game because we got a clip released in the press tour via Rotten Tomatoes, so I can talk a little bit about that. But yeah.
Okay. So Cody, you were a day oneer in terms of being a fan of Cobra Kai. You have receipts to back that up. But tell me about, why did you create Strike Force Media?
Oh, that's a great question. So when during like the whole lull of like obviously I started off as a big Karate Kid fan. I watched the show. Gosh, sorry about that. People are
It's
calling
okay.
me, and it's so I started off as a big Karate Kid fan, and then when Cobra Kai got announced, I was like, "What is this? I have to watch it." And then saw the first two seasons, loved them, and then it was the lull between seasons two and three, and I was like, "Where's Cobra Kai?" And then once season three aired, I was just that was like the spark I needed, and it was like a month or two after the season three aired, and I was still talking about it. I was listening to podcasts, your podcast. I was watching YouTubers on YouTube and stuff, and going crazy. And I was driving my family members crazy, my friends crazy. They're like, "Will you just shut up about this show? The new season came out like 3 months ago. Why are you still talking about it?" And I was like, "That is a good question. Maybe I should find a way to air out to scratch this itch because the people around me aren't really doing that for me." So it started off as an experiment. I mean, when I have a passion for something, I want to go all in for it. And I had thought about doing YouTube in the past for like basketball, for instance. I'm a big basketball fan, but I just never really decided to do it. So Cobra Kai was the thing that pushed me over the edge, and it started off as an experiment. See how this goes. I'm not really sure. And lo and behold, a little over 3 years later, I just hit 30,000 subscribers, and I'm having a ton of fun doing it, man.
Yeah, congrats, man. Huge milestone. I still haven't been able to break 6,000, for a few years now, but it's different type of content. You obviously do a
Right.
lot of theories and speculations as well, based off of things that, we find out from the show. I do the episode breakdowns in interviews. So I feel not a lot of kids. I don't know. Like I feel a lot of the interview listeners probably do it through the audio podcast than they do
Mhm.
the channel. That's just my assumption. But yeah, same kind of thing. Instead of my family, it's like coworkers, or friends that are like, oh, he's talking about Cobra Kai again. It's that thing. And like, especially at work, since I'm a trainer, when people see me with a new person, they're like, did he talk to about Cobra Kai yet? So it's always a joke, but I got like almost a dozen people on to Cobra Kai over the last few years from work alone. So it's clearly a really good show and one of Netflix's biggest hits. First one to get broken up into three parts. So but yeah, man,
Absolutely.
happy to have you. Let's talk about the episode four, three,
Yes, episode
four.
4.
You were in episode four, underdogs. Underdog? Is it plural? I forget.
I think it's underdogs, plural. Yeah.
You're probably right. So, so just kind of walk us through how you ended up, you know, let's just go through that. Like you just kept an eye on announcements and something just kind of fell in with your availability.
Yeah. So, um, a popular agency that the show used for season 6 was Cab Castings, and I had never thought about being in the show until season 6 came out, and I was really like, you know what? It's ending, and this is my last chance. So it's like now or never. So I was like, okay. And then I saw it in one of the Facebook groups that Cab Castings is looking for extras, and I was like, okay, I'll follow the page and keep an eye out and see if anything piques my interest and see if anything fits my description. Because also I'm not Atlanta based, I'm in the Northeast, so I would have to coordinate flights and stay and everything. But things just landed in my lap almost perfectly because I was already planning to go to Atlanta anyways to see my good buddy RJ Strahan, who's a big fan of the show as well. Shout out to RJ.
Same as
Because
the goat.
Atlanta Comic Con, yes, same as the goat. Atlanta Comic Con was taking place that week in February, and I just so happened to see a casting call for a high school student. And if I just shave off my beard, I can look the part pretty well. I look like a 16-year-old kid just without the beard. And I submitted my photos. They wanted a headshot, side profile, full body shot. I shaved my beard for that, so they were like, okay, this guy can pass as one. So I risked off shaving the beard before I even got the confirmation, so that was kind of risky. But then I got an email back saying I was confirmed, and the rest is history. I mean, it was. I'm just glad I was chosen. I just submitted a. I didn't get any special treatment. I'm glad about that too. I got the. I don't know if you call it role. I got it. I got selected like everyone else. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I forgot what the announcement was, but I saw something that fell in line with my visit to Atlanta. But the
Hmm.
problem with that was they were asking for these individuals, I think 6 or 7 days, maybe eight max, but it was something that I couldn't commit to. And I was only going to be in Atlanta from Sunday to Wednesday, and I had to be down in Texas for my sister's wedding. So if
Oh,
yeah, if there was a way that I could have stayed a little bit longer, but that was the thing. I think like her wedding would have fell in like the second to the last or even the last day of what they were asking for, unfortunately. So like, believe you me, I was considering, well, what if I still do it and then I just don't show up those last days? What are they gonna do? Look for me and just cut me out?
yeah,
But
right. Yeah.
you know,
Oh, can't,
it was
can't
something
use this
I
guy. He ditched us.
it was something I highly considered, but just the privilege, to be able to go down to the set and watch some filming. I wasn't, gonna uh I didn't want to risk it and then not I love getting my interviews and stuff like that. And I feel sometimes if it's a new cast member, they maybe go higher up and be like, hey, is this guy cool? And I might get vouched for. I'm not sure. So it's just one of those things like I didn't I didn't get my interviews for doing anything like that before. And so like just kind of keep being me. Just kind of whatever happens, happens, I guess, you know. So let's talk about how many days were you there on
I was
set?
only there. I was only needed for one day. It
Okay.
was it was it was pretty nice.
Okay, so one day, talk about that day just from arriving until you stepped off of the property.
Yeah, yeah. So can't remember. I think I was supposed to be there for 11. So thankfully, it wasn't bright and early shoot. That's for the part two. My experiences in part two. That was the early one, but this one it was nice and late afternoon. So I got onto the set, and this is um, for the West Valley High school scene. Walk in, I see a bunch of other people for the same thing. Some people are there for like the teachers and miscellaneous like high school administration and stuff like that. So I fill out my documents and stuff like W-9 and just a bunch of boring old stuff like that. And so we're in hold. They put us in holding for like 2 to 3 hours. They want to make sure we're all here, and then we just kind of got to wait for the main cast to get there. It was pretty much all the main cast that were there. No adults, like no Ralph, Billy, or Chosen because it's a high school scene. So, and the first person that I saw was Jacob and that American Mohawk, and it was the coolest thing ever. And so not only did I get lucky, blessed enough to get chosen for this, I got so fortunate on where I was placed because I was placed directly next to Jacob and Gianni. That's how I got into that spot where I wind up literally right behind them. And
Mm.
the coolest part is that I got to talk with them. They were like talking to me in between takes. And the coolest part about it is like these guys are not like they're not snobby, they're not stuck up. They're not gonna be like, oh, don't talk to this guy. He's just a background guy. But they're so inviting, and you've heard so many stories from the cast about how inviting these cast members are to like new people, even big or small, with like a minute role. Like I was only there for one day, and it was just so cool to just because these guys they're almost exactly like their characters. Gianni and Jacob are almost exactly like Hawk and Dimitri. Just their banter between each other, it's just so funny. Um, and yeah, my it was just so cool. I mean, I didn't get it's obviously not professional to like talk like walk up to like say Sholo and just start talking to him. No, I'm there for a job, not as a fan. So I mean, it only made sense to talk to Gianni and Jacob because they were talking to me first, and we were just kind of standing there. But I did get to give Sholo like a little fist bump, which was pretty cool, and dapped up Dallas just in passing between takes. But it was just so surreal, man. Once the day was finished, it was a relatively quick shoot. But once it ended, like, and I got picked up by RJ, I was just like, I was in awe. I think I did pretty good keeping my starstruckness, if that's even a word, down to like a low level, so I didn't look like a fanboy, even though inside I was like going crazy. But yeah, just leaving, I was just like, damn, it was a good day. It was just a surreal experience to be on a professional set, a Netflix set, and the set for the final season of Cobra Kai.
Awesome. So, in my experience, I got to watch them film a sequence as well, and so I know how many times they run through, or like I can imagine how many times they run through like a certain sequence. How many times did they have you guys kind of reset and go at it again, I guess?
Oh, so I would say like at least 10 times, probably around 10. Yeah,
Yeah,
even like there was just like there were plenty where they like just nailed it. They just wanted to make sure they had plenty to look through when they were trying to pick the best one, which makes
yeah.
sense.
I know. Isn't it wild? Like, and that's just in that sequence, it's just a few seconds, and you had to run it back like 10 times. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it was cool, and I think as it went on, I got better and better, and I was like, it kind of came like second nature. So it's
that's
pretty
what it
good.
is. They're like, hey, that guy in the back, let's run it back a few more times. He's not strong enough.
And then by the time the last scene or the last take, I'm expecting my Emmy anytime now. Come
There
on,
you
I'm
go.
waiting for my
Yeah.
nomination.
Yeah. Well, that's a cool experience. And yeah, just I'll echo the same thing. I don't know if and when I'll be kind of sharing my story just yet because it wasn't in part one. But yeah, like you said, everybody was nice and friendly. Um, I was, I think before they even started rehearsing, and maybe we were just waiting for people to arrive or just set up or whatever the case was. Everyone was just kind of standing around, and um, John placed me right behind Gianni and Sholo. And so like
Oh,
they were all just like hanging around as you've seen. And Sholo turns around and he sees me, and I think I'm sticking out a bit of a sore thumb because of the scene, and he just extends his hand. He's like, "Hey, I'm Sholo." I'm like, I know who you are. I interviewed you a few years ago, but you probably don't remember. It's a small little podcast. That kind of thing. I was just being like, a little humble about it. But in Gianni, it was like, "When did you get in?" I was like, "Oh, the other night." I texted a few of you guys, but no response. That's okay. But like they're working, and as you've seen, they're busy. Even when they're not filming, they're busy. Like
Absolutely.
people are maybe checking notifications, but very little chance are they ever like really replying and conversing with other people. It's just real quick, reset, do it all over again kind of thing. So I quickly learned how busy a set is, and no, thank you. Maybe it was good that I didn't end up being an extra, but just a chance to kind of be a part of history is pretty awesome. The last and final season.
Yeah, the set is a well-oiled machine. It's there no messing around. Like just go and do like obviously they have fun, but it's especially for the extras, just go and do what you signed up to do and
Yeah,
get to it.
cool, man. Well, if you got any pictures, obviously you're probably holding on to those until after July 18th, and so I'll be on the lookout to kind of see your experience. So now we will get into our top five list of the episode. Unless you have anything else to share from that day.
No, no, that's like the bulk of it. Yeah, if you'll see me, what the only other thing I will say is I was glad that I'm in like clear focus for like 3 seconds. And then once I'm blurred out, you can still see me linger in the background. I thought that was kind of cool. So I got my about 7 seconds of fame, but it was an unforgettable experience. And I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
happy to be a part
for
of the
sure.
legacy.
Like I don't know what it was about this season, but it seemed like things in the background were a lot more blurred than what we're used to, like in the previous
Mm.
seasons. It might be just me, but you're right. When because like clearly that's Cody, and then when we focus in on Eli and Mitri, anybody else in the background will be just a little less clear. And so, you could tell that's you. Whereas like, you focus on those two once they enter the scene, "Ah, that could be any dude." Like he kind of looks like Cody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I had so many
So
people in my comments section just saying, that's not you. That's Cap. That's not you. It's like, it is me. I just don't have my beard, man. I'm not lying. Come on.
that's hilarious. Yeah, yeah. Those chat rooms, man. I tell you. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about five quotes that we predict that people are just going to be requoting, resharing, screenshots, whatever that is, because that's the best we're going to be able to do. Already, with that knowledge, and anything else would be like speculation into part two, which obviously everyone else will be doing as we get closer to the release of that on Thanksgiving. So Cody, with this list, did you have any criteria? Did you have trouble coming up with your list?
I, it was kind of difficult because there's so many good quotes in part one, but I did like a combination of like I have like a callback in there. I have one that really harps on character development. I would say I have a comedy one in there that's really funny. That's probably one that had me dying the most. I just got a combination of different things and just ones that's like a heartfelt, deep character development one that and one that made me really tear up. Couple actually.
Yeah.
So that there's a wide array of things that I went
Okay.
with.
Yeah. I feel mine may not range as much as yours. I feel most of them are more on the comedy side. There's some that are like played straight for sure, but I didn't really have a criteria per se, but I feel like I was kind of targeting the ones that would be like a GIF with a quote underneath, where like on X or even on Instagram, because now you can do that, where you could respond with that GIF with that quote on it. So I was kind of going with those because there's a lot of great funny like one-liners or just funny lines where I'm like, well, I don't know if anybody would actually be using that as a response. So that's kind of how I filtered them out a little bit.
Mm.
All right, so you being the guest, I'm gonna have you start with Actually, you know what? Yeah, honorable mentions we'll do after we list our five going down. So go ahead, start with your number five quote.
All right. You want to dance with an eagle, Taguchi? Cue the music from Johnny Lawrence 601. That is the first scene and quote that had me cackling because Johnny Lawrence in his classic Eagle Fang mode and talking about how he wants to dance when they're talking about fighting and telling Chosen to cue the music. Just that whole interaction and banter between like that, I be there too. It's just such a good line. And it's just, I think that one's really gonna stay well with the fans a lot.
I agree with you. So I guess it doesn't matter in what order we have these because it's just whether or not you think that's a good quote, right? I had that at number one. These weren't in like a very specific order, but that was my first one. Do you want to dance with the Eagle Taguchi? Cue the music. So I just really like the delivery, but it's very much a okay, bring it, you know? So like if you're challenging somebody else on social media yeah, I can see somebody saying, "You want to dance with the Eagle Gucci? Cue the music." You know. So
Exactly.
yeah. All right. So that's pretty much my number five. That's our very first crossover. And so go ahead, go back to you for number four.
All right. So this one was, I was like nearly pissing my pants when I heard it. So it's when we get the introduction to Master Kim and he makes the reference to Miyagi lesson for whole life when talking about No Mercy in 602. Shout out to C.S. Lee, man. He rocked that role. I hope he's in more than just the first part. He was sensational.
I agree with you. I did pick up on that as well. The lesson for all life. Miyagi also said it. Um, I I don't have a comment on the quote. It's a good one. Obviously, you know, Karate Kid use it. But my question about that character, because I'm curious, I've only heard one other opinion. My buddy who joined me on the part one review, he said that he found it comical, like the zoom ins on Master Kim Sung Young. Like, did you find it comical, or were you kind of like, oh shit, that's him?
It was kind of like a, oh shit, that's him.
Okay.
he
Yeah, my friend, he thought it
menacing.
was kind of cheesy, like almost as if like, you know, the snapping of the neck and the reveal of the face. And I was like, okay, I guess I can kind of see that. And that's why I like speaking to him about it because he's coming from outside the fandom, you know, and kind of sharing his
Right.
thoughts.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I can understand the comp like where he sees that as funny, but it's like where we've been like anticipating like like Master Kim Sun Young was just a name from Karate Kid 3, and then we saw a figure in season 5. So
uh,
we're like anticipating this face, and then bang, it's right there. He just turns around. It really caught me off guard and scared me because of like the horror stories we've heard about him and Hayden uh, referring to him as the antithesis Miyagi. So I was definitely shocked to see it that quickly. So I get both sides for sure.
sure, sure. Okay, so my next one, we'll just call it number four. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, so it's very much like a 1B to what we just said or 5B. I'd be there too, you know, so that you
Yes.
know that just that part just like be there too. You know, so again, if you're looking at at a gift, that's something that somebody, you know, like, oh, hey, I'm gonna go to that Comic Con. Boom, drop that gift of Chosen saying, I'd be there too, you know.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, not sexy, but again, I'm kind of going for that. Like, would people be using these on social media? All right, back to you for number three.
All right. So this one, it was just such brilliant writing. Brilliant writing. It's when Sam says to Tori, "It's not that bad actually." It's pretty much faded a lot like this thing between us in 603. I had a feeling that this would happen with Sam and Tori. They needed to have this conversation to really get over their stuff. They kind of swept it under the rug in the first two episodes, but to have this conversation and have them both actually apologize to each other, I definitely think that quote and just that whole interaction is going to really sit with fans and it's going to touch them. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure you probably at least teared up a little bit during that scene. That one was my first watch. That was an emotional scene for sure.
100%. And Peyton List. killed it in part one, and so I can't wait to see what else she's got. I've been, I thought, I think I'm on like my sixth or seventh rewatch now, those episodes,
Mhm.
and I'm paying the most attention to her in every scene. That's a really great line, and I just love that conversation because it could play a lot more pedestrian, where it's just like,
Mhm.
oh, they take turns saying things. But there's that point where Tori even says, okay, I think it might be in response to Sam saying, like, well, it's not that bad. But she's just like, I know, what does she do? Because maybe does she like apologize a second time? She's like, no, I really am sorry. Or there's something that she put the emphasis on in that conversation, and it didn't have to go that way. And so I think by having the character re-emphasize that, like, well, no, she really, really means it,
Right.
So
You could
yeah,
see the tears in her eyes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. It's a really great moment. Let's see here. Mine is a huge contrast from that because it's not sincere at all. Well, I mean, some may argue it's sincere. It's more played for laugh. This comes from episode 602. You tell me who says it. Play karate games, win karate prizes.
Brooks, baby.
Brooks. Yeah, there you go.
That
I I love that. It's like we see it on social media all the time. Play stupid games, get stupid prizes, or whatever. And so I love how they incorporated the whole karate thing and a reference to the beatdown that Brooks got from Hawk from King Cobra, I think it was.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
everybody was because like we've been wondering about this man for so long. Like, is he dead? Is he even alive? And it just I love how when they brought him back, oh, he's like, oh, it's totally fine, man. Yeah, we
Yeah.
play karate games, win karate prizes. It's all good, buddy. I got new teeth. I'm good.
Yeah. He accepted it, and it's something that probably while he was healing and stuff, he was just like, you know what? Kind of my fault. Maybe I didn't deserve all of that, but you know,
Yeah,
maybe I provoked it ever since season one kind of thing, So I totally get it. Yeah,
yeah.
really like that. Okay, so back to you for number two, right?
All right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mine's going the sad route again. From Tori's mom, life dealt us a bad hand, but we can change that. And that quote really, I think, stuck with Tori for her whole life. And her mom continued to teach her that with like, remember when she would say how her mom brought home leftovers and she lost her job because of that. But she really taught Tori how to fight on her own and not to rely on really anyone to fight for her to get up and take what's hers. And to have Tori just like think of that and have her mom's voice in her head while she's reflecting on her passing is just it's so heartbreaking and it was a tough scene to get through. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, I'll be honest, and maybe the runtime has something to do with it. I feel episode five, I might have seen one or two episodes or one or two times less than one through four. But
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah. But most of the time, I'm almost getting through at least the first four episodes and then finishing up five like the next day or something like that, or later in the evening, or if I don't even get a chance in the next 24 hours. So by virtue of that and the kids, so yeah, I usually get through the first four or five is what I've seen, maybe four times, which is still a lot, but
Oh yeah.
it's hard, it's emotional. I probably have shared this at some point by the time people listen to this episode, but I recently lost my father, and
Hmm.
so that was still fresh. And I'm watching that, not expecting this at all. I'm like, hell yeah, episode five, this is going to be like a
Right.
mid-season finale. I'm like, no, they're bringing back the whole mom's thread. And then all those callbacks too with like the mermaid, and then you see like the bruising on her mom's arm. And so you're just like, like, and so you really feel for her even more. And so that's a character that I didn't connect with on that higher levels until this season, where I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm so sorry, and I was rooting for her and Robbie in season four as well. So season five was, it was what it was. It was a great season, but um in terms of like Tori's story arc, this is it for her right here, is part one. So ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's a really good quote.
and you knew from that beginning of that episode, like, oh, your mom's getting better and stuff. I'm like, ah, this is when it's gonna happen, man. Whenever
Yeah.
things are going well in the Miyagi verse, it's gonna take a dip big time.
Yeah, I haven't edited my live my real-time reactions watch along yet, but I'm a little there's some parts from each of those that I'm gonna have to do some minor editing. I try to keep it as raw as possible. But one of the episodes, I think it was episode three, maybe four, probably three, had a lot of buffering issues. And so I had to keep saying pause, pause, pause. And then I'll try to like adjust the camera, and then I'm like, all right, play. And so that's one episode. And then episode five, I think like with 10 minutes left of the episode, I was so stuffy and like snot and eyes.
Oh man.
I was like, all right, guys, I have to take a break. And so like I just got up and walked off, went to the restroom, blew my nose, took a moment, drink some water, and I'm just like, all right, let's do it. So I'm putting all that dead air out. But yeah, I haven't seen myself react to that yet.
It's
So I
tough.
hope. Well, yeah, it is. It's so well written. I mean, you and I, we've discussed it. It's one of the best episodes of the series, in our opinion.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so my last one, because my first one was your number five. This one was great because it's a callback, but also a nice sick burn. Well, I suppose it's better than being called a cream puff.
I was flirting with choosing that line too. I was actually gonna almost say the you're Shagoon for hire. That would have been
Yeah,
funny if I chose that one. But great
yeah,
line.
would have been funny, but it's like it is a sick burn. It's just calling somebody a cream puff. Because I was just thinking about the goon thing. I was like, that's too specific, and that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, yep, that's Barnes to Lawrence in episode 604. Now, I completely forgot about this when we did the part one review with me and my buddy. He thought how cheesy it was because there's really no stakes. Like there's no way that they're gonna saw anybody's arm off. I go, I forgot about the table saw. So if you remember, like, did you have any thoughts about that moment when you watched it the first time?
I was just like, are you freaking kidding me, guys? The saw is on. At least say, okay, time out, unplug the saw, okay, or move it. Okay, then we can fight. But gosh, these guys are such blockheads sometimes. I love them, but they're so stupid
Yeah.
sometimes.
I forgot about that sequence, and then I was like, I think I might have been like, right, like somebody's actually gonna cut somebody's fingers or hands off. Come on. But I quickly, just waved it off because it's like, you're watching it for the first time, so you just, all right, what happens next? You know.
Right.
Um, all right, so before we recap the top five again, you already mentioned off mic that you had some honorable mentions. T Tell me what were some of the other ones that were just right outside your five?
Um, oh wait, I don't think I did my one yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, my bad.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, that's my fault if I didn't keep. Yeah, I didn't keep track.
So yeah, this one was when Johnny and Daniel are having their heated conversation. He's like, when my mom died, all I wanted to do is get on the mat for 3 rounds. It would have helped me then. It would have helped her now. And I was like, wow, that is just a powerful scene, like, or just powerful quote. I mean, because I did disagree with Johnny. I do think they shouldn't have fought during that, but I do understand it from Johnny's perspective because he lost his mom as well, and he wanted to let it out in like a fight. So I can see why he wanted Tori to do that, but it could have led to someone getting seriously injured. And just like the acting and the passion between Billy's voice and then Ralph's reaction, it was just insane.
It's so good. There's so many layers to that conversation, and the way it ends too. Like, when we win, after this, me and you withdrew. Yeah, I'm forgetting the exact quote, which is also a good one. But again, that's not something that I feel like people are gonna like be just randomly using. Like maybe the screenshots, just because it's like, oh, the daddies are mad, whatever the case is. But I love that sequence, and in that moment, like I can see Johnny thinking like, I've been a really good sensei, and I've kind of, you know, maybe the way we get to my lessons have been a little bit slow, but like ultimately my decisions have been good. And so he is fighting for Tori, and like, I couldn't use it back then, and she needs this now or whatever, but I agree with you. It's like, well, that's what Johnny thinks, but we don't know if that's what Tori would have really wanted, because she has nothing to lose at this point. but the Sekai. And so by any, by um, what's that expression? By any means necessary
Yeah.
is yeah. So yeah, I was fearing for Sam, and I thought it was a little random that Amanda got the call during the fight. I get it though; they kind of set it up earlier in the episode when the doctor asked Tori, "Is like, is there anybody else we can call?" So that's something to kind of think about too. Like, well, did Tori wasn't in the hospital, but I guess Amanda kind of like vowed. Yeah, that's a whole podcast
Yeah.
episode, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
just, the wheels are turning here. Um, all right, so really great moment. I love that for your number one. And why don't you go over your honorable mentions and then recap from 5 to 1 again?
Yeah. So an honorable mention I had was from Kyler in 602. The safety's always going to be there, bro. You got to chase after that damn dream. And it's just nice to have a non-comedy moment from Kyler for once, like an actual like heartfelt moment from him talking to Miguel, Rhea from the kid he used to pour Pepto-Bismol all over. It was just so cool to get like a moment of giving him advice because I completely spaced that Kyler and Brooks were all, I guess, a year older than the main the main students, and it was great character development for Kyler. I know a lot of people didn't want to see him get quote unquote redeemed, but I thought it was well done. I thought it was very handled pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Kyler's just one of those characters where you kind of forget some of the things that he did, like in season one,
Mm.
but he's come a long way, and they've given Joe some fun stuff to do, especially with his lines. Any more honorable mentions?
So it's also this one's from Crease in 602. It's not about the prize, it's all about eliminating what stands in the way. I like that one.
Yeah, that whole lesson too, and snapping Johnny's neck. It's let's see how the fandom reacts to that.
Marty impressed me so much during that fight scene, dude. So much.
I had to wear the shirt.
Yes. Yeah, perfect.
Because
King
yeah,
Cobra,
it's
baby.
this was Marty season,
Yes.
but
It would
SZN Marty season.
Marty season.
At least part for
Yes.
sure.
All right, I think
That
that's all of them that I got.
okay. All right, just recap your five again.
Yeah, so okay, number five is you want to dance with the Eagle Taguchi. Cue the music. Number that's from Johnny 601. My fourth is Lesson for Whole Life from 602, Master Kim. Number three is It's Not That Bad, actually. It's pretty much faded, a lot like This Thing Between Us. That's Sam 603. Number two is Life Dealt Us a Bad Hand, but We Can Change That from Tori's mom in 605. And then when my number one is When My Mom Died, all I wanted to do was get on the mat for 3 rounds. It would have helped me then. It would have helped her now from Johnny 605.
Oh yeah, we definitely went on different approaches
Yeah.
in the definition of quotes, but those are all solid quotes from really great lines of dialogue for sure. Okay, so let's see. My honorable mentions were definitely all over the place. Let's see. Oh, okay. So this one's from Chosen to Daniel in episode 601. But Eagle Fang name is stupid.
I love that one, man.
The way he says it is stupid.
Beak with
And
teeth.
when he's talking about the logo, he says like and something and with uh but a beak with fangs. Like it's the way he says it's so sassy. Um, Another honorable mention I have is from 605, Johnny to the test driver. It's got all the teeth you'll need.
Yes, what are you talking about the
Does this have
Bluetooth?
Bluetooth?
Brilliant.
Uh, I mean, he has a smartphone. Like he should know what Bluetooth is. But hey, it's one of those peak Johnny
He's
moments.
upgraded to an iPhone this season.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely. Okay, now this one is kind of a series. So you get the first part and then the second part a few seconds later. Okay, Johnny instructs elbow to the face, punch to the throat, lift his ass up, and dump him. Then, yes, grab his nuts, twist, 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 twist.
Grab his nuts. I loved his kata, man. I love it. So,
Oh, God.
quick funny story. So, my grandfather used to be a bouncer, and that was his technique to grab the nuts and pee. That's how he would escort people out because they would get on their tiptoes and be like, "Oh yes, sir, I'll get out, I'll get out." So I told him I was like, in season 6, they used one of your moves, Gramps, and he's like, "Oh, I
That's
can't wait to
amazing.
see it."
And that's kind of Johnny taking something from Miyagi-Do and giving that Johnny spin on it. Like, Mr. Miyagi in part two showed Daniel, drop the rag and punch him in the nuts. He did it to Chosen.
Yeah.
So yeah, might be the same. We'll see what the people think out there. Let's see. Now this one is more straight. This is from new character Yoon to Kwan in 603. He says, "I will teach you to keep your mouth shut." So that's kind of the problem. Like with this one being in Korean, I don't, unless you speak Korean, I don't know if people are going to be repeating, them in English. But that's why it's in my honorables. I really like it. I will teach you to keep your mouth shut. Um, and then let's see. Okay, and this is right outside my honorable mention. This one was a high consideration for number five. Kyler to the guys in episode 602. Nah, it's more like the school goes to me. You know what I mean?
Freaking awesome, dude.
I don't know
Uh,
what you mean.
no, I don't.
I don't know how the school goes to you, but I liked it a lot. To recap my five, is that right? One, two, three, four. One, two. Interesting. I think I accidentally deleted one at some point. Okay, because maybe that's why you were I forgot to, when you said, "Oh, I have my number one." I only had
Oh
a
yeah.
four, or at
Oh
least
yeah.
where I thought was five was wrong. So maybe that is my number five then. So okay,
It
so
made it
I'll
after
repeat
all.
that. Nah, it's more like the school goes to me, you know what I mean? So that was my number five. I'd be there too, with Johnny's Chosen. Play karate games, win karate prizes, Brooks to Eli. Well, I suppose it's better than being a cream puff, Barnes to Lawrence. And you want to dance with the Eagle Taguchi? Cue the music. Um, I think this goes without saying, but probably the funniest quote is got to be, "Bitch, don't you know I know karate?"
Yeah, that one's too freaking funny and uses the same move
Move
that
is,
Miguel
yeah, yeah, yeah,
sorry
yeah, yeah.
chip down the throat.
No, no, I
You can
get
cut
it.
that part out.
If I remember,
Yeah, yeah. But that move is just so funny when mirrors Miguel as he's watching and bitch, don't you know I know karate?
it's such a good cadence. Like I don't know how somebody else would have said it differently. Because I think bitch is such a Kyler word to use.
It is.
Like unless you're like Aisha, like if she was still around, maybe she could have said that. But I can't see like Miguel, maybe Hawk, Dimitri, Dimitri
Mhm.
maybe. I could see Dimitri saying it, you know. So great list. Cody, thank you again for coming on, sharing your story about being extra in episode 604. And now if you want to give your plugs where people can find you, obviously I would say like, pimp out an upcoming video you're working on, but like it's gonna be so far down the line, like unless you have something that you will drop like in the first few days of part one.
Yeah, yeah. So you can find me on social media, X, Instagram, YouTube at strike number one ST media. In terms of content, uh I have a bunch of stuff in the pipeline for like just theory videos, like explanations and breakdowns and stuff post season 6 or part post part 1, and then I have a lot of other very interesting stuff that I can't talk about now, but it's coming once we get closer to the end all be all in part 3.
Just subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. That way, when you put out those videos, people will get notified. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. For me, if you guys don't already follow me on X, I'm looking at my video and it's so blurry. Um, Yeah, it's focusing on something else and so weird. Anyway, yeah, on X I am at Cobra Kai Pod, and on Instagram at Cobra Kai Companion, Companion spelled with a K. Keep it locked here, depending, maybe this is the first episode you found because maybe Cody shared it, and that's how you found this channel or podcast. But lots I'm gonna have a lot of stuff going on. The part one full spoiler review, that's about 2 hours long. Um, Same kind of thing, some explanation. The Miyagi box, I think it's gonna be a popular one for all content creators. Because that made me ask more questions than it did answer anything.
Literally,
I
yeah,
think that's got to be by design, clearly.
for
Um,
sure.
and then Kristen Baldwin, continuing the tradition of having her from Entertainment Weekly come on to do a top five as well. But yeah, just subscribe to the channel Companion Network or follow on the audio podcast. So thanks again, Cody, for joining me. Thank you guys for your continued support, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate it, Peter. Thank you.